Good evening. This is July 27th, 2021. The Select Board is conducting a reopened public hearing to review compliance with a decision that the board rendered following a dangerous dog hearing on January 12th and 13th, 2021. In accordance with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency and signed into law by Governor Baker, tonight's meeting will be conducted remotely via Zoom and will not be open to the public for physical attendance. The meeting is being recorded and cable broadcast by the Easton Community Access Television, which is Comcast 98 and Verizon 23, and on ECAT's website, www.eastoncat.org. The meeting is closed captioned for the hearing impaired. If you're watching on your computer, you'll see a CC button at the toolbar on the bottom of your screen. If you do have a question or a comment, please put your question into the Q&A feature of the Zoom portal. And remember to include your name and street address for our minutes, or we won't be able to acknowledge your comment or question. As this is a Zoom hearing, for people who may not be familiar, you're going to see the participants in the Zoom windows, but all others will not show up on the screen, so you'll use the Q&A portal. At this time, I'd like to ask each select board member to state their name to ensure we have a quorum.
Craig Barger.
Mark Lamb.
And I'm Dottie Fulgenetti. For the record, please note that the Selectman Jamie Stebbins and Selectwoman Jennifer Stacy are absent from the hearing. They also were not at the original hearing. They weren't on the select board at that time. So we do have a quorum and ready to move forward. Craig, if you want to read the public hearing notice into the record.
Sure, absolutely. Notice of reopened public hearing, dangerous dog. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Easton Select Board in accordance with its decision rendered following a dangerous dog hearing conducted on January 12th and 13th, 2021 to review compliance with said decision and further determine whether a dog more fully identified below may have its prior dangerous designation reduced to nuisance or rescinded pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 157, and Chapter 104 of the Easton General Bylaws. Copies of the petition and supporting documents are on file in the Select Board's office. The dog and the owner information: dog is Jasper, mixed breed. Owner is Matthew Dean, 25 Squantum Ave, North Easton, Mass. The petitioner is Peter Deere, 8 Squantum Ave, North Easton. A hearing at which the public will have the opportunity to testify and present evidence on the matter will be held via remote participation using the Zoom platform. Instructions for accessing this remote hearing will be provided on the meeting agenda available at the town Easton's website, www.easton.mass.us, at least 48 hours prior to the start of the hearing. Today's date is Tuesday, July 27th, 2021, approximately 6 p.m.
Thanks, Craig. I also want to acknowledge Connor Reed is our town administrator and Michael Kenefick is the town's attorney that are also appearing. So thank you for being here tonight. I'm going to go through just some general information. I'm going to give you a summary of what we had voted on previously and the order of how this is going to work. So for background, on January 13th, 2021, the Select Board held a dangerous dog hearing in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 157, related to a complaint alleging that a dog owned by Matthew and Lisa Dehan, named Jasper, had attacked a dog Ranger owned by Peter Deere on December 9th, 2020, while Mr. Deere was walking Ranger along Squantum Avenue. Based on the testimony and evidence presented, the Select Board voted to find Jasper to be a dangerous dog as defined by General Laws, Chapter 140, subsection 136A and 157. The board further voted to reopen the hearing in 6 months to review this matter and determine whether Jasper remains a dangerous dog as defined by General Law, Chapter 140, subsection 136A and 157, at which time the board may affirm, modify, reconsider, or rescind the original finding. A copy of the January 13th, 2021 decision and orders, as well as the documents from that hearing, are included in this packet. A notice of the public hearing was read into the record by the clerk, and the following documents relevant to the reopening will be accepted into the record: the hearing for the notice for the public hearing, the decision and orders of the Select Board, the Jasper Dehan update provided by Matthew and Lisa Dehan, a progress report for Jasper Dehan provided by J&M Pet Resort. You'll also find attached, following the relevant provisions of the bylaw, the Code of the Town of Easton, Chapter 104 for animals, Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 157. Our town council, Michael Kenefick, is here, along with our select board members and town administrator. So the general procedure for this, we're going to hear from the dog owner first, from the Dehans, Jasper's dog owner, and their attorney, Attorney Cohen. We'll invite witnesses in support of the dog owner. We'll have the petitioner, Peter Deere, come on and be able to ask questions or make comments afterwards, and then witnesses in support of the petitioner. I just want to go over very quickly what the orders were that we asked for. So the first order that we asked for was that Jasper be confined to the Dehans property, provided that confined shall mean securely confined indoors or confined outdoors in a securely enclosed and locked pen or dog run area upon the premises of the owner or keeper, provided further that such pen or dog run shall have a secure roof, and if such enclosure has no floor secured to the sides thereof, the sides shall be embedded into the ground for not less than 2 feet, and provided further that within the confines of such pen or dog run, a dog house or proper shelter from the elements shall be provided to protect the dog, and provide further that the pen is to be inspected and approved by the animal control officer and building inspector. That was the first condition. The second one is that when removed from the Dehans property, Jasper shall be securely and humanely muzzled and restrained with a chain or other tethering device having a minimum tensile strength of 300 pounds and not exceeding 3 feet in length. The third condition was that the Dehans provide proof of insurance in an amount not less than $100,000, insuring them against any claim, loss, damage, injury to persons, domestic animals, or property resulting from acts, whether intentional or unintentional, of the dog, or proof that reasonable efforts were made to obtain such insurance if a policy has not been issued. Provided, however, that if a policy of insurance has been issued, the Dehans shall produce the policy upon the request of the hearing authority or a justice of the district court, and provided further that if a policy has not been issued, the Dehans shall produce proof of the efforts to obtain the insurance. The last order was that the Dehans provide to the licensing authority or animal control officer information that Jasper may be identified throughout its lifetime, including but not limited to photographs, videos, veterinary examination, tattooing, or microchip implementation, or a combination of any such methods of identification. That motion was approved by a 4-0 to 1 vote, with Barger recusing himself. He was not available for the whole meeting. So that's the background. That's what we're here today, is to see, have the Dehans met those conditions? We have a lot of information in the packet. Them and their attorney will come on first. We want to hear just concisely addressing those orders of conditions. Have they been met and how they've been met? So we'll start with that. If Michael Blanchard, if you want to move them into the panel section. Hello, Attorney Cohen.
Hi, good evening, everybody. And thank you for getting together again on a nice summer night to review this 6 months later. As you know, I represent Matthew and Lisa Dehan, and my goal is to just walk you through everything they've done. I've supplied evidence as to support that. In terms of the trainer, Jenny Mather, who spoke last time, is certainly available if I call her. She's got her cell phone close by, but to the extent you have questions for her, I can bring her on.
Okay.
Madam Chair, you mentioned what you had in the packet, and there's some other items. If I can share my screen, I can bring them up, but I want to make sure that you might have them at least. The quote in the contract for the fence that was installed and pictures of the fence.
Yes.
Okay. The proof of insurance, the $100,000 liability insurance.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Pictures of the muzzle, the leash, the microchipping for identification, along with a picture of Jasper, all per the prior order. And just earlier today, and I understand if you don't have it, I submitted, it's about 9 pages, but it's the proof of training for it's Jasper's record at JM Pet Resort, and it's broken out by date. And on there, you can see that over the first 3 pages or so, that since the hearing, Jasper's been there, I think I counted 57 times, at least 51, maybe 50 for training and 7 for boarding. There's, if you don't have that, it can be shared with you. Your attorney has that. So tonight, happy to report that everybody I've checked in with, including the Dehans, folks at JM Pet Resort, there have been no incidents with Jasper, just some improvement. And the Dehans, now that they have the fence, as you may recall, at the end of the last hearing, just in the days after that, it was determined that they could at least put a fence in for now. If the board determines that you need a fence and a pen, that would be understandable. But if we could first see how the fencing is worked, and it's a 6-foot fence, it's an appropriate fence for this dog, and there's been no escapes. It's my understanding that there should have been no reports negative that Jasper has in any way acted up or scared anybody in the neighborhood. There's the report I got from JM Pet Resort is that he socializes with the other dogs. He does have a muzzle on when he's there, and he shows up with a muzzle, as you saw in the update. And the one request, as we get into this a little bit, from JM Pet Resort was a modification. So I'll get there. We're here for to see if you'll consider a modification. So here's what we're asking for, is a partial modification where Jasper's label is reduced to nuisance. And some of the reasons for that were raised at the last hearing, but ultimately just a few things that I'll hit on is that in all of the testimony we heard and all of the reports, Jasper was only dog aggressive. And for the most part, it was to this one particular dog, Ranger. So there was there doesn't seem to be concern that Jasper is human aggressive, which would put us into the dangerous dog area. ACO Holbrook, when she did examine Jasper, initially spent about 20 minutes with him, my clients tell me, and she felt that he wasn't a dangerous dog. And the folks at JM Pet Resort have welcomed Jasper in and have not, do not believe that he qualifies as a dangerous dog, as they've certainly experienced dangerous dogs before. Also, the last pitch for nuisance for me is that, and this was explained a little bit the last hearing, nuisance gives the board a broader avenue, broader scope of what you can order and what you can put in. For instance, the 7 options in dangerous doesn't have a provision for training. It doesn't have a provision for a fence even. It talks about the pen. We'd like you to at least consider a downgrade to nuisance based on everything that you've just heard. I do want to point out that whether the Jasper is deemed a nuisance or remains a dangerous dog, the next chapter in the statute, chapter 157A, provides that any violation of an order, whether it's nuisance or dangerous, they're equal. They're both subject to the same consequences and ramifications. So the board wouldn't be losing any authority if it reduced the label to nuisance. What my clients would like to have remain in place is the fencing, of course, the commitment to training for them, and muzzling the dog when off the property. So the only request I've received from JM Pet Resort is they feel comfortable now when Jasper's there with other dogs. They feel that they could get more accomplished with him now if the board would at least make an exception that when Jasper is in training or at training with JM Pet Resort on their property under the guidance of a qualified trainer, and they've had, I think it's just been this one person, Callie Cornaglia, for the most part working with him, that there be a carve out made to remove the requirement of a muzzle just during that period of time. Still, when he shows up, he comes from the car with a muzzle. When he leaves with a muzzle on.
Okay.
I believe so. Everything else that the board put in place, my clients have done. They maintain the same level of commitment that they had during the hearing. I've kept in touch with them this whole way. I'm proud of everything they've done, how serious they've taken it. And to the extent I'm speaking for them now, certainly my clients are available if the board has any questions for them, but I believe I've covered everything that they would, on direct testimony, have presented. Thank you.
Great. So Mr. and Mrs. Dehan, did you want to say anything, or do you want me to just ask the board if they have any questions from here? I want to allow you the opportunity if you wanted to, but you don't have to.
Okay, we're off mute. No, I just want to say, appreciate the opportunity of coming back and then talking about, everything that we worked towards the last 6 months. So thank you.
And
Okay.
Mr. Cohen did go through everything that we have done, and the communication we've had with him has been ongoing, and also with Jay and Pet Resort, working with Jasper and things. It's been very consistent from what he was saying.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Is there any questions from anyone on the board, starting with you, Craig?
I don't have any questions at the moment.
Mark?
I also have no questions at the moment.
Okay. Attorney Kennefic, do you want to just go right over to the Deers and see if they have any questions or comments?
I think so. I mean, it's kind of a limited issue for tonight. The board
Right.
wants to kind of review everything that's happened in the last 6 months. So I'm sure the Deers have questions. So I think we just move on to that, and then
Okay, that's what I'd like to do.
yeah.
All right. Michael, if you want to move Mr. Deer, great.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
We can
Yes,
hear you.
Mr. Dare, good
Hi,
evening.
Mr. Deer.
All right. Hi, good evening. I want to start by, thanking the board for reconvening on this subject. And I also want to thank the Dehans, because I did review the documentation. They've taken this very seriously. I agree that, they've done everything that's been put out for them to do 6 months ago. So I appreciate everything that they've done. I don't have any questions, except I hope this is not a 6-hour meeting again. But other than that, I thank you to the Dehans. I appreciate everything that you've done. Thank you, Matt and Lisa.
We all hope for a less than a 6-hour meeting, so I appreciate that. Any comments or questions for Mr. Deer from the board, Craig or Mark?
Yeah, Mr. Dare, just a question about how Ranger's doing.
He's 16 years old. He is showing his age. His rear legs are pretty much handicapped at this point. We're just keeping him comfortable. He's doing everything he has. It's day by day with Ranger at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark?
I echo Craig's question. I understand Rangers, not doing so well, but given the age of 16, it's a good life. I'm just blown away, to be honest. I'm blown away right now by what Matt and Lisa Dehan have done, and Mr. Deere, your response to them. Like, you guys are the role model for how things should happen. That's all that's going through my head right now. So I apologize for having no questions, but I wanted you both to hear that.
Thank
For
you.
all three of you.
So you feel that you're comfortable with what the Dehans have done?
Yes, I have. I've
Okay.
walked around the neighborhood now. I've seen the fence. I've seen Matt Dehan a couple times. He's in control of Jasper. I've seen the muzzle. So I definitely feel more comfortable, and I hope that along the way Jasper improves, and I'm sure there's improvements after 50+ days of training.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we have confirmed with the police that there have been no other complaints against Jasper throughout this period of time. Attorney Cohen is asking that we vote to reduce the dangerous dog to a nuisance dog, and also allow that when Jasper is in training at J&M that he be allowed to remove the muzzle. I remember from the testimony the last time that that was an important part in the training. I know that even, from my dog, sometimes when they're on a leash or a muzzle, it can be more frustrating for the dog. So I think that she was pretty clear about the testimony the last time, about the muzzle. But as Attorney Cohen, as you also said, I would really want them to still have the dog on a muzzle in and out of the car, and certainly walking in the neighborhood. I understand that the Dehens have not used other dog walkers, that when the dog is being walked, it's by the family members. And I think that that's reasonable as well. So what are your thoughts in deliberation, Craig? What are your thoughts about moving this to a nuisance dog and requiring the muzzling as just mentioned? And, the pen, we had asked about a pen, but there is fencing around the yard. We've seen that. It's 6 feet tall. Everything else was in compliance. Everything we asked for, they did. And just wondering what your thoughts are on that, Craig.
I agree, Dottie. I echo what Mark said, that I'm impressed with the outcome of this and the work on the part of the DNs, and the fact that Mr. Deere is willing to support this process. I think that the DNs have gone above and beyond in terms of the training, and I think nuisance is an appropriate way to proceed at this point.
And Mark?
Yes, I do agree. Matt and Lisa, you guys have done everything you've been asked. Outstanding. It's really unbelievable what you guys have done. And this was the whole effort, that 6 months ago, my belief was that there was a danger, but I believed that it could be trained out and there could be measures taken, and everything that was going on was unbeknownst to you guys. So once you discovered it, there was an opportunity to correct it, and we put things out there that you had to follow, and you did exactly that. You did everything. So Mr. Deere is satisfied, and I see absolutely no reason why we can't give the Dehans exactly what they're asking for. Reduce it to nuisance, and with that muzzle, not needing the muzzle while Jasper's being trained. I don't see a need at all for a pen within the fence. That just seems completely unnecessary to me. So I'm in complete support of doing what they're requesting.
Okay, thank you. And I feel the same way. I think that, there was a considerable expense financially of everything that's involved in this. And I think that people look in the packet will see that. So it was taken very seriously. Personally, I'm not an expert on dogs. I have a dog, but I think, to have a dog in a pen versus having a dog in a big backyard in a fence is better for the dog. They need the space to run around, especially a high energy dog like Jasper. And I would imagine through the training, I remember from the first hearing that the Dehans were new to dog ownership of this kind of a dog. And I remember, when I had my dog at first and I took it to dog training classes, I probably learned more than the dog learned about how to handle a dog properly, because I remember being a new dog owner. So I'm sure that you've learned a lot along the way, from what you went through with the training. And I hope that you'll continue that, because it sounds like it's good for Jasper as well. Also, just to reiterate what Mark and Craig had said, this is, you guys are neighbors. This is an incredibly upsetting thing to have happen for everybody involved. And I think that this is really the model. Attorney Cohen, you should save this for future opportunities to show your clients that this is a really respectful and thoughtful way that neighbors worked with each other for this. And I give you all an incredible amount of respect and gratitude for the way that you handled it amongst yourself and with your neighbors. So with that, unless I'm missing something, Attorney Kenefick, can we go right to the vote and the decision?
Mike, you're muted, and
Yeah, you can go right to a vote.
um, Michael, does the board need to specify? So Attorney Cohen identified a few pieces that the Dehans are comfortable with staying. Does the board need to specify those? You know, the fence, the muzzle, except when training and that type of thing while voting?
Yeah, so I think the motion would be to, I guess, reconsider or rescind the designation that the dog's dangerous, find the dog to be a nuisance, and then you would just list the conditions that you want to impose under the nuisance label.
Do we have to rescind dangerous first and then we take another vote for nuisance?
I think it'd all be in one vote. The board,
Okay.
somebody they would move to rescind the designation of dangerous and to deem the dog nuisance based on the last 6 months worth of training.
So I'll entertain a
Do
motion
second
to,
vote for the conditions. Sorry.
okay, so to rescind the title of dangerous and change it to nuisance dog with the
Yes.
conditions that the dog remain on a muzzle when being walked in public, except for in training at J&M Pet Resort under the situation of being handled by them, and that you will keep the fencing and the insurance, and I believe the dog has already been microchipped. So with those conditions, Craig, did you want to make that motion?
So moved, Daddy.
Second, Lamb.
So that's Barger, Lamb, back to you, Craig,
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
and Full Janetti, yes. So thank you very much. You'll get the updated orders. Attorney Cohen, looks like you wanted to say something.
I was unmuting just in case, but thank you all. I again appreciate the opportunity, and as other clients can learn from this, other boards could learn from this as well, because by extending this 6-month period, you really incentivize them to improve things for the neighborhood. So thank you for that opportunity.
Actually, I kind of wanted to say the same thing as Attorney Cohen just said. I do so many of these every year, and this is without a doubt the best results we've had. I've never had a board willing to hang on to something like this for 6 months and revisit it. Not only the board's commitment to kind of hold on to this, but the dog owners, the neighbor, victim, I mean, everybody worked towards a resolution. So I think this is a perfect result here. I've never had a dog hearing, I think, go this well with such a good result. And I think everybody should be commended for holding on to this. It's easy to just have a hearing, label a dog dangerous, and then in most cases, then it becomes an enforcement issue. I saw the dog out there without a muzzle. I saw the dog not on a leash and stuff like that. But this was a fantastic result. And I think it was because everybody was willing to spend the extra time and effort to get us here. And I hope to actually do this with other towns as well. Like this is definitely a model, which I'm going to try to spread with our
Well, and you can recommend that they cut the hearing length down so that it's well under 6 hours.
Yeah. But,
all right.
yeah,
Well, thank you to everyone involved. I know that we're not going to see you back here again. So thank you very much. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
That's Barger and Lamb. Back to you, Craig.
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.